BYD just beat Toyota in Southeast Asia, and the US should be worried, not Japan, not Germany. A Chinese company is dominating the Southeast Asian car market. Imagine this: you're in Bangkok, Hanoi, or Manila, and the most common car on the road isn't a Toyota, not a Honda. It's a name from China, BYD. In just the first quarter of 2025, BYD sold over 120,000 vehicles in Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines, more than any other brand, including Toyota. For decades, Southeast Asia has been the extended home turf of Japan's auto industry. Toyota was untouchable, but that order is shaking. And it's not Tesla or Volkswagen causing the tremors, but a rival from Shenzhen, China. What's really going on? Why are Southeast Asians ditching Toyota for Chinese electric vehicles? And most importantly, if China can surpass Toyota's long-standing lead in Southeast Asia, who's next? Let's dive in with Top 10 Discoveries Official to uncover why BYD is drawing global attention from both Tokyo and Detroit, and why this new Chinese dominance could reshape the global landscape. Southeast Asia, with over 680 million people, rapid urbanization, an expanding middle class, and increasingly modern infrastructure, is emerging as the latest strategic battleground in the global automotive war. This is no longer just a region for importing cars. It's becoming a key hub where global automakers compete through innovation in mobility, energy, and smart technologies. For over 30 years, Japan has been an unshakable force in Southeast Asia's auto industry. Names like Toyota, Honda, and Mitsubishi weren't just vehicles. They were symbols of durability, efficiency, and the technical trust that generations of regional consumers placed in them. As of 2024, Japanese brands still controlled 60% to 70% of the light vehicle market share across the region. Toyota alone held about 35%, Honda over 10%, and Mitsubishi between 7% and 8%, numbers that seemed unassailable. But times don't stand still, and the first cracks are starting to show. In Thailand, once considered the fortress of Japanese cars, their market share has slipped from 90% in the late 1970s to just around 75% in 2024. In Singapore, a small but highly symbolic market, Japanese car sales have dropped by 18% in just 5 years, since 2019. In Malaysia, the decline is 5%. Indonesia, Southeast Asia's most populous market, has seen Japanese market share slide by about 6%, with brands like Nissan fading into the background. It's not that Japanese cars suddenly got worse. A new player has emerged, not from Detroit, not from Munich, but from a city dubbed the factory of the 21st century, Shenzhen, China. If Japan built an automotive empire in Southeast Asia over 3 decades, China has taken less than half a decade to start shaking that order. In 2024, Chinese cars accounted for just 5% of the light vehicle market share across ASEAN, a modest number if you only look at the surface. But in the electric vehicle, EV segment, the battleground of the future, China isn't just present, it's dominating. In Thailand, the most dynamic EV market in Southeast Asia, over 80% of EVs sold in 2024 were Chinese. Beyond that, in the first half of 2024, Chinese brands captured 14% of Thailand's total light vehicle market share, a staggering increase in just a few quarters. While Toyota still sells plenty of gas and hybrid cars, it's BYD, GAC Aion, and other Guangdong-based rivals that are ruling Thailand's EV streets. In Indonesia, the region's most populous nation, BYD is a newcomer but has already become the 6th best-selling car brand nationwide, just months after its debut. Its flagship Seal EV, starting at around $40,000, has quickly won over the middle-class craving electric vehicles but wary of the high prices of American or Japanese brands. With Indonesian consumers increasingly focused on fuel costs and the government pushing tax incentives for EVs, BYD isn't just a car maker, it's a full-fledged strategy. In the Philippines, a market long dominated by Japanese and Korean brands, Chinese car sales surged in 2024, contributing to a 12% growth in the overall auto industry, according to Frost & Sullivan's ASEAN Automotive Market Outlook 2024. BYD and Chery led the charge, opening dozens of showrooms in just over a year, paired with low-interest financing, long-term battery warranties, and localized after-sales services. So, what's driving this breakneck Chinese expansion while other rivals struggle to adapt? First, its price. Chinese brands like BYD, SAIC, Chery, and Great Wall Motor have fully integrated domestic supply chains, from batteries to motors to software. Producing 100% of critical components in-house lets them slash prices by 20–30% compared to Japanese and Korean competitors in the same segment, while still maintaining solid profit margins. This is an edge no Western or Japanese brand can match. They're still reliant on supply chains spanning multiple countries. Second, its battery technology. BYD stands out with its proprietary LFP, lithium iron phosphate, and blade battery tech, offering high fire resistance, good energy density, and low production costs. This is technology tailored for developing markets, where consumers still worry about fire risks, long charging times, and expensive battery replacements. Third, and most critical from a geopolitical angle, is the build locally strategy. China doesn't just want to sell cars to Southeast Asia. They want to build them there, using Chinese components. To capitalize on regional trade agreements like RCEP, Great Wall, and Chang'an have completed assembly plants in Thailand. BYD and Chery are investing hundreds of millions into new manufacturing facilities in Thailand and Vietnam's industrial zones. Once operational, these plants will let Chinese cars bypass intra-regional tariffs, boosting their competitive edge over Japanese cars assembled in Japan or exported via third countries. This isn't just market expansion, it's a re-engineering of Southeast Asia's automotive value chain to a Chinese standard, from production to consumption to after-sales service. While Japanese brands still operate like it's the 20th century, assembling at home, exporting far, and keeping prices high to protect margins, China's playing a new game: cheap production, direct-to-consumer delivery, and integrated tech and services as an ecosystem. The first quarter of 2025 marked a symbolic turning point in Southeast Asia's auto industry. For the first time in history, a Chinese car maker officially overtook Toyota in sales in a key regional market. That company was BYD. In Singapore, a highly competitive market with brand-savvy customers, BYD surpassed Toyota in total vehicle sales in the first 4 months of 2025. According to Reuters, BYD sold 3,002 vehicles, capturing about 20% of the market share, while Toyota managed 2,050 vehicles, or 13.7%. A Chinese brand overtaking a Japanese giant in a country known for its stringent standards and premium consumer tastes is a serious wake-up call for traditional Japanese automakers. In Thailand, BYD hasn't yet surpassed Toyota in total sales, but dominates over 80% of the EV market and held 14% of the light vehicle market share in the first half of 2024. By early 2025, BYD's overall market share in Thailand had climbed to around 20%. Meanwhile, Toyota, which once commanded 90% of Thailand's market in the late 1970s, is now down to about 75%. With the shift toward EVs and BYD's opening of its first assembly plant in Thailand in July 2024, backed by a $1.44 billion investment, the balance of power is shifting rapidly. In Indonesia, BYD hasn't taken the top spot, but has already cracked the top 6 best-selling brands nationwide, despite launching less than a year ago. Its Seal EV, priced at around $40,000, is a hit with Indonesia's middle class thanks to its modern design, long range, and flexible battery warranties. While Toyota still holds the #1 spot, BYD is emerging as a genuine challenger, no longer an outsider. Of course, this rise isn't just about products, but a layered, methodical strategy. BYD isn't going it alone. They've partnered with top regional distributors like Sime Darby in Malaysia and Singapore, Rever Automotive in Thailand, and Bakri & Brothers in Indonesia. This lets BYD rapidly expand its distribution and after-sales networks without starting from scratch, unlike Western competitors. At the same time, BYD offers premium features like its God's Eye driver assistance system, included free across its lineup, while rivals like Toyota often charge extra for similar tech. Another key factor: pricing. In Thailand, BYD's Auto 3 sells for about $30,000, while a Tesla Model 3 costs $5,750. To stay competitive, BYD even slashed the Auto 3's price from 1.2 million baht to 860,000 baht, or roughly $24,000. That's a price point with no rival in its segment, too tempting for first-time buyers and those upgrading from gas to EVs. Meanwhile, Toyota is struggling to pivot. Despite announcing a $4.3 billion investment in an EV plant in Thailand, they're still focused on gas and hybrid models, a strategy losing appeal with younger consumers. Overtaking Toyota in Singapore, closing the gap in Thailand, and expanding fast in Indonesia, BYD is showing its rise isn't a fluke. It's a long-term plan with clear production, pricing, tech, and distribution strategies. In Q1 2025, BYD sold 1 million vehicles globally, compared to Toyota's 2.25 million. But the real story isn't the current gap, it's the trajectory of BYD's growth curve. If BYD keeps this pace, in just a few quarters, the automotive world might have to get used to a new reality. The car you drive doesn't come from Tokyo, but from Shenzhen. BYD's rise isn't the result of luck or short-term marketing stunts. It's the culmination of a comprehensive, integrated strategy, from technology and supply chains to pricing and logistics ecosystems. While Western and Japanese rivals stick to traditional models, BYD has redesigned the entire automotive value chain to fit the new era of electric vehicles and markets like Southeast Asia. One of the biggest secrets behind BYD's meteoric rise in Southeast Asia, and globally, lies where many legacy automakers are still stuck: the supply chain. While companies like Toyota, Honda, or even Tesla rely on dozens to hundreds of external suppliers to complete a vehicle, BYD took a different path. They depend on no one. Every core component of a modern EV, from batteries to electric motors, chassis, control software, energy management systems, and even smart displays, is produced and controlled in-house by BYD. This deep integration gives BYD three critical, strategic advantages. First, they cut out middleman costs, eliminating dependent links that drive up final product prices. This lets BYD price aggressively while maintaining profit margins, a make-or-break factor in price-sensitive markets like Thailand, Vietnam, or Indonesia. Second, integration makes BYD resilient in crises. When the world faced chip shortages, logistics disruptions, or raw material scarcity, legacy automakers had to cut production or delay deliveries. BYD didn't. Controlling the entire chain lets them flexibly allocate resources and maintain steady output. Third, owning the supply chain lets BYD tightly control production costs and product launch timelines, while shortening tech innovation cycles. When BYD develops a new battery, they can integrate it into their lineup without waiting for third-party approvals or adaptations. This strategy lets BYD offer EVs under $30,000 packed with advanced features like smart driving assistance, AI battery management, and real-time connectivity, features competitors are still considering as paid add-ons. In a fast-growing but volatile market like Southeast Asia, where consumers demand stability, affordability, and cutting-edge tech, all at once, controlling the supply chain isn't just an advantage, it's a strategic weapon. At the heart of BYD's tech strategy is its Blade battery, a proprietary LFP, lithium iron phosphate battery. Compared to traditional lithium-ion batteries, the Blade is safer, thinner, more impact-resistant, less prone to fires, and up to 30% cheaper to produce. In internal crash tests, the Blade battery still functioned after being pierced with a nail, something competitors can't yet match. In markets like Thailand, where EV safety concerns linger, this safe battery tech is the ace up the sleeve, building market trust. For most Southeast Asian consumers, price remains the biggest barrier to EV adoption. High ownership costs, import tariffs, limited charging infrastructure, and cautious mindsets have long made EVs seem like a luxury for the urban elite. But BYD didn't wait for the market to change. They proactively redesigned their operations, from production to distribution, to make EVs affordable, accessible, and practical. A pivotal move came in 2024, when BYD announced a $1.44 billion investment to build its first Southeast Asian EV factory in Rayong, Thailand. With a designed capacity, Of 150,000 vehicles per year, this plant doesn't just serve local demand, but acts as an export hub for all of ASEAN and RCEP countries, the world's largest free trade agreement, led by China. Not stopping there, BYD has revealed plans for a second factory in Southeast Asia. Countries like the Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia are now fiercely competing to host this next facility, a clear sign that EVs are transcending consumer markets to become a governmental priority. Localizing production doesn't just let BYD dodge import tariffs. It unlocks a range of policy incentives from host governments. In Thailand, EVs are exempt from special consumption taxes. In Vietnam and Indonesia, governments are rolling out subsidies for charging infrastructure, reduced registration fees, and EV prioritization in public transit modernization projects. BYD isn't just riding the trend, they're leveraging policies to accelerate market penetration. The result? BYD can sell mainstream EVs priced between $24,000 and $30,000, a range once thought impossible for EVs in emerging markets. Meanwhile, a Tesla Model 3 in Thailand still costs around $57,500, and Toyota relies heavily on hybrids with significantly higher starting prices. Crucially, despite these competitive prices, BYD maintains solid profit margins thanks to its closed-loop supply chain and massive production scale. This gives them the resources to reinvest in expansion, new tech R&D, and after-sales support, factors that make them not just a market disruptor, but a sustainable force redefining how EVs are produced and distributed in the new world. BYD isn't just a car maker. It's a cog in a much larger industrial machine, a highly coordinated industrial ecosystem led by Chinese firms, operating in sync with the sophistication to reshape Southeast Asia's entire automotive value chain. Behind every BYD vehicle, sold is not just a modern assembly line but a network of Chinese conglomerates working as a unified organism. CATL, the world's largest battery maker, is a strategic partner supplying batteries to many Chinese EV brands, including BYD. They don't just provide products but co-develop next-gen battery tech, keeping Chinese EVs cost-competitive and reliable. Tencent and Huawei tech giants are central to developing smart vehicle platforms, AI controls, and localized digital maps. These once futuristic technologies are becoming standard in BYD's lineup, setting them apart from traditional Japanese or American models. WeChat, Pay and Alipay, China's national payment platforms, are being integrated directly into vehicle control systems, letting users pay for charging, maintenance, registration, or even insurance with a few taps on the central touchscreen. Intra-regional logistics firms, backed by RCEP policies, handle the entire distribution chain for components, assembled vehicles, and commercial logistics, from Thai factories to dealerships in the Philippines, Indonesia, or Vietnam. All this creates a closed-loop, synchronized, made-in-China ecosystem from start to finish. When a Thai customer buys a BYD, they're not just buying a vehicle. They're stepping into a tech finance service ecosystem where every need, from charging to maintenance to registration to personal finance, is met by Chinese companies, or those controlled by China. Compare that to Toyota, which operates as a car maker, while BYD runs like a super industrial entity. It's an ecosystem that doesn't just sell cars, but supports how consumers navigate, transact, and experience urban mobility. And as this ecosystem expands, every BYD vehicle leaving a showroom carries not just an electric motor, but China's technological, economic, and soft power influence, quietly but effectively distributed through each market share milestone in Southeast Asia. BYD overtaking Toyota in Southeast Asian markets in Q1 2025 isn't just a sales milestone. It's a symbolic geopolitical shift, reflecting a profound change in the industrial balance of power in a region seen as the global value chain's hub, ASEAN. For decades, Japan viewed Southeast Asia as a strategic backyard, not just for cars, but for its entire industrial ecosystem. From component assembly to vehicle exports to building national brands, Toyota's 30-year dominance wasn't just a business achievement. It was a symbol of Japan's industrial soft power, of presence, influence, and consumer trust in Japanese engineering. But when a Chinese company, BYD, overtakes Toyota in that very backyard, it's no longer just about winning cars. It signals a shift in long-standing perceptions and highlights China's expanding industrial presence. Meanwhile, the US is almost entirely absent from this strategic race. Tesla, the flagship EV brand from the US, has no factories in ASEAN, no products under $30,000, and no clear roadmap for localizing production here. Ford and GM have scaled back or exited. Washington is preoccupied with tweaking domestic tax policies, while Beijing quietly pours capital, transfers tech, builds factories, and sets up ecosystems. When China brings batteries, EVs, software, and payment gateways into a single interconnected network in Southeast Asia, they're not just selling products, they're expanding presence and operational reach. The auto race in Southeast Asia is just the opening act. In reality, a global competition is unfolding between three key players: China, Japan, and the US, represented by BYD, Toyota, and Tesla. BYD isn't stopping at ASEAN. They've expanded to Brazil, Mexico, Eastern Europe, and are even challenging Tesla in emerging markets where the US once held sway. Their products are cheaper, tech-integrated, and backed by the planet's strongest supply chain. Tesla, meanwhile, still leads in tech and branding in the West, but has almost no real presence in Southeast Asia, a 680 million-strong region, with rapid urbanization and a global growth hotspot. Their affordable model is yet to launch, production infrastructure is absent, and their Asian expansion strategy remains vague. Toyota, the long-standing titan, stands at a historic crossroads. They have the brand, market share, and distribution network, but are slow to pivot to EVs, lack large-scale BEV offerings, and struggle to compete on price in emerging markets. While they've announced billions in EV investments in Thailand, their response feels defensive, not a strategic breakthrough. As EVs shift from future tech to the current battleground, the race between BYD, Tesla, and Toyota will expand beyond sales and tech to market power, supply chain influence, and competitive industrial presence worldwide. Every BYD vehicle hitting the streets of Singapore, Thailand, or Indonesia carries not just a motor and battery, but China's comprehensive industrial approach, from production to software, from after-sales to supply chains. This is a new model. EVs aren't just tech products, they're tools of integration and innovation. What do you think? Can BYD become the world's #1 car maker in the next 5 years? What can Tesla and Toyota do to hold their ground against China's strategy? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear your take. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our next strategic deep dives from Top 10 Discoveries Official. We'll be back with more jaw-dropping discoveries, epic projects, and untold stories from around the globe. See you next time.